Welcome, everyone, to Read the Book First. Today, my friend Sam has returned. Today, we're going to be talking about The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by Frank L. Baum. My brain always wants to make his first name F instead of Frank, as well as the 1939 movie, The Wizard of Oz. Honestly, reading this book and watching this movie during November was a choice, but like not bad.
I mean, it used to be the way that it got famous was it was a Christmas, it was shown on Christmas.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're heading into winter at least.
Mm-hmm. It was cold here today. I don't know if it's cold on your side of the state,
It has
but
been cold actually. For like the area at least it's been 50 or like one day I think was below.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, today
So
was like 40 and 39 when I was getting grocery carts with my students at Food City. It was cold. So, The Wizard of Oz, I've never read the book. Have you ever read the book?
very yes, I had it as a kid, but I think I read it one other time.
Hmm.
Maybe middle school or high school. Not sure. I was inspired later in life to read it.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah, I never read the book, though I remember once in second grade, I got pulled out with like the quote, like advanced kids once. I didn't go to any other of the one day they pulled me out.
You were in
And
advance for one day.
one day in second grade, and then the program got cut.
Ah,
I think is what happened. But I remember going into like the cool little conference room, and they were halfway through reading The Wizard of Oz, and it was in Emerald City was like the chapter we were reading.
oh.
And so I like felt so cool, and then it never happened again. So I technically had read one chapter a long time ago in second grade in 2002, or 2001, whatever. But this book is old. It it is old. It is not the oldest book we've read on the podcast. I think currently Dracula still takes that cake. But this was written in 1900, so 124 years ago, which is wild. Reading this book and then looking at the like world, the United States world that Baum lived in 1900, it makes so much sense. With I feel it made more sense once I was looking into it, right? Because they're like post Civil War America, like Industrial Revolution, pre-World War One. A lot's going on.
Yeah.
There's 14 books in this series.
I didn't know that actually. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's 14 books in this series. And Dorothy's in like three or four of them, but not like subsequently. I found like some video on like TikTok or YouTube that summarized all of the books. And if you're interested, it's very interesting. I'll try to find that and put it in the podcast description, but if it's not there, don't hold me to it. um, but I saw at some point in the last week. This book, it's almost beat for beat the movie.
Some of it.
The
Well,
first half.
yeah, there's a couple things that are just like like differences in which like the movie's a dream and in the book it's
Hmm.
not. And then I would say the only other big difference that matters in the book for like the movie is that there is a bigger role of the Wicked Witch of the West in the movie than there is in the book. And she's
Hmm.
not like the villain in the book.
Hmm.
She's a obstacle. But otherwise, yeah. There are some little things here and there about like, oh, and the final ending and like all this
Hmm.
stuff. But generally speaking, like,
I'd say like the first half is pretty beat for beat from the movie, which is like the whole time I was reading this, I was picturing the movie because it is so like integral to just like anyone in like American cinema. Like everyone has seen. I don't know if I've met anyone who has not seen The Wizard of Oz, you know?
no way. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe some kids, but that's like not necessarily their fault because they're kids. You know what I mean?
I'm not, yeah, I don't know anyone who has kids that I can even like enlighten about
Right?
it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know a single adult that hasn't seen it before.
Same, yeah. The book does start off with them in Kansas with her Uncle Henry, Aunt Em. They live in a small house. Their cellar was just a hole in the ground of the house, like very bare minimum situation. I did like the description of Kansas being a burnt gray, like the prairies just burnt gray. And I'm like, I have driven through Kansas. This is not far off for my limited knowledge of Kansas. No offense to Kansas. But I did think it was interesting that color is so important to this book. Like, obviously, in the movie for reasons we'll talk a little bit about. But in the book, colors are so important. And it starts right there at the very beginning, which I enjoyed. I wouldn't say I love the writing of this book.
Yeah, it kind of gave me same feelings of when I was like recently I read like Matilda. It kind of put me more towards those vibes reading the book than anything, but also it was an audiobook, so maybe just like wasn't helped.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised when I saw that it was like on audiobook, it was 4 hours. I was like, really? Like I don't remember it like it being like
It's like
that.
100 pages. Yeah.
Yeah, I truly thought it was like a 2 hour read, maybe. But nope, I was wrong. There's a lot of story, a lot more story than I remember. I definitely think I read it loving it, that I love the whole thing anyways. Like I've even
Hmm.
into The Wizard of Oz, but yeah, there was something
Yeah.
not quite the best reading experience if you didn't already love it.
Yeah. I think part of it is like I do know about myself that I don't love this time period of writing in American literature with like a few like exceptions, but in general, like anything from the Civil War until World War II in American literature, I'm kind of just like not for me, with again a few exceptions. And so I think part of it is that it kind of falls into that kind of style, but also it is a kid's book, and he does write in apparently before each book of the 14 in this whole series, which is wild. Like the MCU could never.
Right.
Like, but he writes explicitly like he's writing this for entertainment of children because school's now teaching kids morals, so stories don't have to teach morals anymore. Like he talks about that all the time, which I find hilarious considering this book.
Yeah.
His kids and his nieces and nephews have gone on record, after he died, because he died in 1919, so not far after this was like published, and it was pretty successful right away. Um, but they talked about how he loved telling stories, and whenever they had family gatherings, he was always telling some like crazy story, and he loved the stories of like Lewis Carroll and Hans Christian Andersen. So he loved those fairy tales, and I think that is you can tell that he's inspired a lot by that kind of the plot devices of those stories. But we have our girl Dorothy, and she's living in Kansas, and everything's gray, and she's kind of just like dealing with being a girl in Kansas. We have Toto, like we do in the movie. And in the first chapter comes the cyclone. Question: as someone who grew up in the Midwest, I have a few questions actually. Have you ever seen or experienced a tornado? And also, do you call them tornadoes, twisters, or cyclones?
Yes, the answer is yes. I call them tornadoes. No one called them twisters or anything growing up. I almost died in a tornado when I was in about to be in second grade.
Oh, damn.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Which is actually kind of funny that I was still so obsessed with
I know.
it.
It's like, it's funny. Yeah,
Because yeah, because I'm actually very scared of tornadoes.
as you would be in that situation. I'm scared of tornadoes.
Yeah.
Never seen one. So,
They are not great. If you see the sky as green, go to your basement where there's no windows. Like that is like my go-to tip for everybody about that.
hmm
But yeah, essentially all that happened was my mom and I were driving to the big city from rural Nebraska, which is probably why I also really love this book, is being from a rural farm area. And it was normal. I was like reading a book, and then all of a sudden my mom was like, "Oh no." And we saw a funnel coming
hmm
down in our path. And so we like saw a church, and then we were like the last people they let us in. And it was a category, it was like an F2. It started right next to the church that we were in, but like was not, it like went around it, or like it
hmm
just like went opposite and like went straight that way or something like that. And so um it destroyed like half the town. I also had grown up being like my mom's parents, like their farm got half of it was destroyed because of a tornado.
hmm
My whole family, like that was like tornadoes happen here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting because like I grew up obviously in Islands, Alaska, where we get like what would be considered hurricane level storms consistently, but because it's West Coast Pacific Ocean, the total makeup of it is different. And also, if you live on a mountain coming out of the water comes down the mountain, right? And like the infrastructure is set up. So like growing up, I didn't understand all those things, and like neither did like my peers. And people would like make fun of people. Like I remember during the hurricane season, on the like people would be like, "Oh, they're not, good enough to like all this like just bullshit." And in my head, I was just like always like I don't know, it's tornadoes kind of or the same thing as like quicksand to me, as in like this is something that I should be aware and I one day will encounter it because that's what's in every single story. But also I know that I will never be here in Alaska. But then my dad, went to dental school in Nebraska. He's like always been like, no, tornadoes are no joke. Like this happens, this is what you do, right? So I just think it's interesting that tornadoes are just such a foreign concept to me still, because now I'm in Appalachia, which like we do get little tiny ones in the flatter areas, but not often. Not like I'm lucky to be not by those areas, but it's just interesting. Dorothy does not make it down to the cellar because she has to go get Toto because this is a reoccurring thing. Toto just runs around doing what Toto wants because Toto's a dog, and like also I understand. Get it, Toto. Do what you want. But she sits on the floor with Toto and falls asleep. And she wakes up, right? And it's, again, just the beats of the story, right? We get into the Munchkin land. Though I do like the details, like Munchkin land is blue. Um, like each land in Oz is a different color, which I found fun. And like the English major in me was like, what does this represent? Like, which I'm like, part of me, because this writing is, I found so boring. I was like, I don't think Frank really wanted any of this color stuff to mean stuff. Like, he just is like, let's separate these. This is blue land.
Yeah, I don't see like a huge symbolism in that front from
No,
him. Like it's
no.
just like this place is this and this place is that.
hmm Also worthy of note, the Munchkin land, all the Munchkins are not just like all like little people. They're just like a variety of sizes, which I think is important to know. But the house lands on what we find out to be the Wicked Witch of the East. We have a similar scene where her feet do crawl up, but the slippers are silver. Anytime there's a deviation from what my memory of the movie from the book, I have to be like, no, this is what's canon. The movie changed it. And this is one of the ones that like shocks me because the ruby slippers are so iconic
Yeah.
that them being silver is just a bit shocking.
That was like the one big fun fact that I knew about this movie that was like my
hmm
flex for people because I'd read the book.
hmm
It was always like there were like when I had to give a fun fact or like what's something you think that other people don't know, I would like talk about the slippers in the book.
We'll talk about the theories about why it's silver once we get through the book, because there's so many people have so many theories about this book.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot
Uh-huh.
about it, I think.
They're spoiler, not good.
I
Um,
I
they're
would say
fine.
some of the conspiracy of the movie is not.
Yes, those
So,
ones, the movie facts, I'm like, yee. The book ones, eh. But so the Munchkins are like super excited that she killed the Wicked Witch of the East that had enslaved the Munchkins, and an old lady who happens to be the Good Witch of the North, who is not Glinda, just a lady. She gets named. She has two other names further on in the series, but not in this one. Dorothy keeps the shoes, and Dorothy's like, "Hey, how do I get home? This is weird." And the witch is like, "I don't know. Go to the Emerald City. Go see the wizard." Which is just like so irresponsible.
yeah. Person who's never been here, why don't I just send you that way?
Go
Good
on a
luck.
magical quest, strange
Yes.
little girl, by
Yes.
yourself with your dog. Ah. But she does give her a kiss on the forehead, which is like, hey, evil cannot touch Dorothy because I, the good witch, have kissed her forehead. Weird.
Written by a man. Like
Absolutely.
that is a written by a man moment.
Absolutely. Dorothy heads off onto the yellow brick road towards the Emerald City. I love this one thing I love about this. Dorothy is constantly eating throughout this book, and I was like,
Yes.
my girl, she's a snack. She loves a snack. And the first one is bread and butter, and I'm like, yes, get that bread and eat it. She's also described to have the blue and white gingham dress and a pink bonnet and the silver shoes. Um, she saves the scarecrow. He joins them. He doesn't have a brain. Nothing extra special there, right? On my book, page 27, we have the line, "There's no place like home." So that line is like directly, which I love that that's actually from the book. They're going through the forest, and they end up meeting the Tin Man, and they oil his joints, and we get the backstory of the Tin Man. Also, this book is gruesome,
Yes.
which honestly is pretty metal. No pun intended, I guess, for this part. But like, but like this book, I think another reason why I didn't like it is it goes from like la di da, look at this little joyful girl. Oh, here's a gruesome event that happened. The Tin Man wanted to marry a Munchkin lady. The Wicked Witch of the East was like, hey, no, I'm gonna be evil, and cursed his axe to chop him up. And then a random tin guy fixed him up, and created him as a Tin Man. So he's a zombie? He's Frankenstein?
Hard to, yeah. I don't
Like,
know.
and he wants a heart because he wanted to love this woman so much, which honestly, this story, interesting.
Yes. This
Yes.
part, yeah.
Yeah. But I just like, how does he become sentient after he was chopped up?
Everything is magical in this land.
That's true. Magical with no explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah. They keep going. They meet the cowardly lion. The lion attacks the scarecrow and the Tin Man, and Dorothy slaps him away, from Toto. And then he goes on and talks about how he's always scared of everything. The Tin Man at one point steps on a beetle and cries. So, like, already here we have the lion who says he's a coward yet scares the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and goes to attack Toto. And then we have the Tin Man who wants a heart, doesn't have one supposedly, yet cries when he steps on a beetle because he thinks life is that precious, right? Like even the smallest little thing. And then as we keep going, like anytime they're in trouble, the Scarecrow's like, "Hey, here's our plan." They're not selling the whole idea of these wants of these characters.
I mean, but they are, two of them are inanimate who have concepts of this is what other people have that I have that it's also kind of funny to think about it in that way because you're like, are they thinking that they're looking for like a real life like brain to be placed into you? Like I
Hmm.
think that's so like interesting to talk about now. Little like there's definitely that like oh, maybe this is what we had all along to it, but I think that it could have been written like I don't want to say like written better, but it could have been like more interesting like written when
Yes.
you know?
It could be less explicit, right? Because
Yeah.
it's so literal in this world that is so nonsensical
Yeah.
that it doesn't make sense. And like later on, like obviously we learned the lesson, like spoiler if you suddenly have not seen this movie, which is essentially this book, like the whole lesson is, oh, you had it the whole time, right? And so
Yeah.
like for a kid book, like obviously you want to see elements of that as you go, but it's every situation there's an example of it, right? Like they get to a big ravine and the lion's like, I'll be brave and jump it. And you're like, okay, suddenly. And like they get attacked by like tiger bear creatures, and Scarecrow creates a plan. Tin Man chops them up. Like it's, I don't know. I just thought it's just too literal
Yeah.
for the other stuff not to be.
They could have been some more creative
Yeah.
for development, I think.
Yeah. I did like the Deadly Poppy Field scene and
Yeah.
how it was, it's again like the movie, right? The lion and Dorothy fall asleep because they breathe oxygen. Again, random logic, right? Whereas Scarecrow and the Tin Man don't. And so they are trying to figure out how to drag them out. But then I love the bit with the little mice. They meet a field mice and then they end up saving the field mice. And the queen of the mice, field mice, is like, we owe you a like a boon. Like, and I thought that was fun. Like once the little tiny talking rodents get into the story, I'm like, I'm into it. Like, I need more
You got me
Redwall.
now. You got me.
Which is ironic because if I saw rodent in real life, I'd be like, run away.
Unless it's like my like pet friends who really love that and then I have a reverence for it.
Hmm.
Absolutely not. I don't want to see it. I freak
Hmm.
out. Like I'm very lucky that I've been to New York so many times and never seen the rats somehow.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah. Like, but as soon as like a TV show where a book puts a cute little hat and gives them a cute little like accent, I'm immediately like, I will die for this rat.
Which, weirdly enough, my problem with Ratatouille was that I couldn't get over how unsanitary it was. Like I didn't watch Ratatouille until like 2 years ago, mind you. Like I didn't like watch it when it came out and like have some level of like, oh, I loved it because it came out when I was like in high school or like college or
Hmm.
whatever stuff. Like I just happened to be like, oh, I haven't seen it before, and then I
Hmm.
just was I can't get over it. Probably inspired by Everything Everywhere All at Once with the Arakakuni.
Yes.
Yeah, that made me be like, oh, I haven't actually seen this before.
What did you
Um,
think? I'm curious now.
of which movie?
Ratatouille.
Oh, I didn't really like it. Like I said, I was just telling you, like I couldn't get over the fact that like this concept is
Uh-huh.
actually gross. I just couldn't get past it.
I didn't like it when it first came out. Like I
Mhm.
remember everyone being like, "It's the best Pixar," and I was like, "It's not the worst. Absolutely not the
Yeah,
worst."
it's not the best. Like it's not the worst either. I
There's
mean,
chunks that are amazing, like the flashback scene once he eats the red, like that, amazing. The
compelling.
rest of it, I don't know. I think I agree with you. There's too many rats.
Yes.
Not enough Ratatouille.
Yes, exactly. I think that you're just like, okay, I can only buy into this so much. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry to the Ratatouille fans and who are listening, but
But I will
wasn't
say the TikTok musical, big fan because it was like a thing of a thing of a thing. Anyways, we're done with our Ratatouille
anyways.
review within this Wizard of Oz review. But anyways, the Queen and the Mice, good stuff in the Wizard of
Stuff.
Oz. They get to the gates of the Emerald City, and everything like leading all the houses leading up to the gates are turning green. Once they're in to the city, they have to be wearing glasses. And they say it's to avoid being blinded by like all the emerald. But it's because everything they want everyone to look at the city as green. And I feel like if there's any part of this book that could be like an allegory or like a metaphor, it is the Emerald City and the wizard.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm. The rest of it, I'm like skeptical about, but this one I'm like, no, this is allegory. But they get into the city of Oz. Everything is green. They go and ask to speak to the wizard. He has agreed to see them one at a time, once per day. And because of Dorothy's shoe and the kiss from the wizard or the witch, like otherwise he would have been like, nah, y'all can just go. So shout out to the slippers. Dorothy goes first and sees a giant head on a throne, and he says, "Y'all, everyone can get everything they want, but you have to help me kill the Wicked Witch of the West." And Dorothy says she can't because she's like, what, an 8-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl? Like, again, these adults in this world are asking so much of this child who's not of this
Yes.
world. Poor girl. The Scarecrow goes in and sees a beautiful lady who claims to be Oz. Tin Man sees a terrible beast, though, and the lion sees a ball of fire. And it's all in each a different day, which I think, it's like, oh, it's a power move, right? But also as an adult reading this book, you're like, oh, it's because they have to do only one trick at a time. Like,
Yes.
which is fun. It does add to the mystery of it all. And so the group was like, all right, I guess we're gonna go kill this witch.
Yes. The thing, Dorothy goes through the ringer and her friends are just along for the ride. Like,
Hmm.
it's just like, okay, gotta go.
Yeah, gotta go. And they gotta stop and eat some fruit by any time they can. Like every other chapter, they're eating fruit. I mean, she is a farm girl.
She's stays fed, living off the land.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you would like eat fruit if you like knew that there was
Oh
nothing
yeah.
wrong with
Yeah.
the tree or something. Like,
Absolutely. Never eat anything you don't know what it is. But if you know what it is, chow down.
yeah, like my great grandma's house had like a pear tree, but you couldn't have the apples.
Hmm.
There was two trees next to each other.
Yeah. We had a big rhubarb plant that we just break off a piece of rhubarb and
But they
chop
were
it down
like,
to the stalk.
yeah, my small town, like they were rhubarb grew like an outbreak for a lot of
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
We had a lot of mulberry trees where I grew up.
Nice. I don't think I've
Yeah.
had one of those.
Really?
What's it taste like?
I would say like a muted blackberry.
Okay,
Not very, it's not like super sweet.
cool. They go to the west to the land of Winkies, where the Wicked Witch is in control. As they're traveling, the Wicked Witch sees them and sends a pack of wolves to attack them. And so the Tin Man kills 40 wolves,
Yep.
just chops them up. Him just describing like the Tin Man has suddenly been like, I don't know, like a black belt in some sort of martial arts, just
That's what I was saying. I
40
was like, he's
wolves?
like the John Wick of Wizard of Oz. Like just he's just going after it. Like, oh, you got it. I'm gonna get all these wolves.
Like one wolf is impressive if you can chop up one wolf.
Right. I would, yeah, like 10 would have even been like, wow, that's a lot of wolves. But 40
40 wolves?
for a guy who's just trying to get a heart. I mean, dang.
Yeah, seems pretty heartless.
Cold, cold like
Burn,
iron.
Tin Man.
Cold, cold like iron.
Like
And
tin.
like 10.
Then she sends a horde of, or sorry, a flock of crows, aka a murder of crows. And the scarecrow twists the head off 40 crows.
I don't even know if I have a ton of words for that. Like, it's just really funny when you think in like the context of who the actors were for these two characters, right? That you're like, I could never see you rip birds,
No, he could beat them in a dance battle, absolutely,
right?
but
Jolly,
not in a 1v1 like battle.
yeah, like a sing off, sure, between the two of them, but like,
Yeah.
really,
She sends a ton of bees. They cover Dorothy, Toto, and the Lion with the straw, so they tear apart the, the scarecrow, which is, if you think about it, horrific.
yes.
Yes, gross. And also, again, doesn't make sense, but okay. And then the bees sting the Tin Man and don't affect him and break their stingers and then die because bees. A very logical reason of how these bees get defeated,
This
which is just
person never,
infuriating considering the 40 crows and wolves.
this, you can tell that there was zero bee research on top of everything that was happening. Like,
No,
what?
no. Yeah. And then finally, she sends 12 of her Winkies guards to go and capture them. The lion scares the Winkies away. Here he is being brave again. See? Ah. And then she has this golden cap, and we can only use the golden cap 3 times, and the winged monkeys from a different part of Oz will come and do her bidding.
Yes.
And she has used it once before to enslave the Winkies, and once before to get Oz out of the West. So she has one more use of it, and she uses it to get the flying monkeys to capture and bring the lion and Dorothy to her, but they ended up dropping the Tin Man onto rocks, which as then break him in pieces. And they Scarecrow is already torn up because of how they were protecting the non animated objects. They capture the lion, but they don't hurt Dorothy because of the kiss on her forehead, because the power of good is greater than the power of evil. Direct quote. But they take her to the witch. And like here again, it's just so much more logic versus not logic, right? Like because of this damn kiss, she's invincible. It,
There's a lot about this scenario in this part of the book. They were
yeah,
like, okay, like she's throwing everything at them. They somehow can take on all these animals, but also this happens to you?
yeah.
What?
And like essentially Dorothy has like the star in like in Mario. right? Like she's like invincible, but she can't do anything because she's a child.
That's such a hilarious comparison.
And she gets captured. The witch cannot hurt Dorothy. Um, but she sees the shoes and she's like constantly trying to get Dorothy to take off the shoes to give to her. She's scared of the lion because he keeps like roaring. So he's trapped in a cage and she's trying to starve him. She goes and she hits Toto and he bites her back, but there's no blood that comes out because it has dried up. And like this again, it doesn't make sense, but also you have to like then I have to remind myself, I'm like, there is a straw person and a tin person walking around with no blood, literally no heart. So this witch could be dried up, like, in the metaphorical way, like she has no blood, that she's so evil that her blood is gone, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's definitely meant to be like, and she doesn't have a heart either.
yeah, no soul,
Yeah.
little lady, yeah, which is it's wild. But we do like Dorothy observes that the witch dreads water constantly. And so we find that out, but Dorothy doesn't use that information really. The witch is trying to get the shoes and trips Dorothy with essentially like an invisible string to try to steal the shoes. And in retaliation, Dorothy pours water over her and then destroys her.
Bye.
It's just like, what?
Very cold behavior from this little
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. And like this, again, this follows a lot of the movie beats. And so like, oh, the book's almost over. And then it keeps on going,
Yes.
which was shocking. Um, so the Winkies are ecstatic because they're freed of this tyrant, and they help Dorothy rescue her friends, and they give her jewels and gold and the golden cap. So now Dorothy has this golden cap, but she does not know about the rule of three.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get back to Emerald City. They get lost on the way. So they call on their good friends, Queen of the Field Mice, and they tell Dorothy about the cap's charm. And so Dorothy uses one call on the cap, and the monkeys take them to Oz and tell her the story of the cap. It has to do with like, it's like Frank L. Baum loves lore. He, like, this guy knew every single Greek and Roman god, you know? Yeah,
Without a doubt.
yeah. And so he's just like, well, here's this winged monkey people. I'm going to give them this really deep backstory at the end of this book. And it's just about betrayal and they get indebted to serving this golden cap, essentially. Which is like cool, but like make that a whole other book.
Right? You made 13 other ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably had plans on
Hmm.
that. You probably didn't just finish this book and was like, you know what? I'll make 13 more.
Yeah. Yeah. 13 more. Gosh. Um, they get back to Oz and to go to the wizard, and he's trying to avoid them and avoid giving them the prizes. And so the lion roars out of frustration, and the screen goes away, and we find out the Wizard of Oz is really an old man. And he was a ventriloquist born in
Oh my
Omaha.
God.
Omaha gets a shout out.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
But the wizard arrived in Oz via balloon. So he ends up giving the Scarecrow the brains, Tin Man a silk heart, the Lion a courage potion. Um, which like is so in this version it's like physical things, right? Which I think lessens the lesson here,
Yeah.
but also like we knew the whole time that they had it, but they don't emphasize that, right? Like you didn't make it doesn't pay off.
It doesn't. When you're like kind of just sort of like expecting a Kazam kind of thing to happen, just like, all right, and you're like,
Hmm.
okay, well, you're a fraud who can make potions. Like, what's going
Hmm.
on?
Yeah. Yeah. We have the whole balloon scene where the wizard's like, I'll take you back in this balloon, but then Toto again runs off as Toto do.
As he does.
And so Dorothy misses her ride because of Toto. And so they're like, well, shit. Now what?
The balloon
Um,
Uber has gone away. Your
um,
balloon. Oh, sorry.
balloon.
The better joke is lift. Duh. Duh.
I think both are fun, but Lift is better, but Uballoon is really fun to say.
Yes,
Oh, balloon.
a blue one.
Um, she calls on the cap and the monkeys and it's like, hey, take me back to Kansas. And they're like, we don't know where the fuck Kansas is, dude.
GPSs weren't invented yet.
Yeah, exactly. And so they decide to go visit Galinda, the Witch of the South. And so they go down, they get attacked by trees. The Tin Man chops up the trees. They get to a random country called Dainty China Country because literally made of like porcelain china.
Two breaks, girl.
Yes. Which this was interesting. And I'm like, I want this in the movie.
Yeah,
This is
that was like
fun.
one of those moments where I was like actually really, really listening. Like, I don't remember this part, kind of vibes of like, and listening to it, I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of interesting.
A cute little like porcelain town with like a porcelain cow and you get porcelain milk. I don't know what that is, but it's adorable.
Yeah, I think that would have been fun.
And it's like aesthetic and babushka as fuck.
Yes, exactly. Though
Yes.
I understand why they did what they did, knowing it how much this
Y-
movie did cost.
Yes. Yeah. They go by a huge jungle and the lion decides to go and become king of the beast and they kill a spider that attacks them. But they finally get to the Quadlings country, which red is the color of this country. Um, and they meet Galinda, the Good Witch, and she grants Dorothy's wish, and she's like, ask the cap and use the wish to send the three to where they'll rule. So they send each, so the lion goes to the jungle, the Scarecrow and Tin Man, I think, are co-ruling Oz, or this Emerald City now. And then Galinda's like, oh yeah, by the way, those silver shoes you have can take you anywhere you want. You just have to think of home and clap them, which like this makes sense. We meet the solution witch. Galinda is a solution based witch. Um, we meet her at the end, which is fine. Something about the movie which ticks me off, or whatever. Um, but she is able to get home. So like again, a lot of the book is a lot like the movie. I don't know. I did not really like this book.
It, I think overall it just felt like it was like sprawling and it just like
Hmm.
could have probably like needed like another edit or something to really
Yeah.
just be like, okay, like, are you trying to talk to kids really? Like, some of the stuff is not for kids. Like,
Hmm.
and when you're trying to like lead kids through stuff, like the colors is a great entryway, but you like
Hmm.
really lose some of it along the way, and I think that's probably why making these these people you meet at the end, the witches, way more interesting than some of the other stuff before it. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5 for nostalgia.
That's very nice. I gave it like a two, I think. Like, I think,
I need to sharpen my hater instincts, I think.
I think I'm honestly, I'm not really I usually am way too nice with my ratings, but this one, I just was continually like bored because of like the whiplash of like suddenly it becoming gruesome and then nothing happening. And this like it was just like inconsistent. And I think that was my issue.
Knock
And
it
I
down to
think,
3 because now that you're talking about it, I was kind
yeah,
of like constantly being like,
I
how much
think I think a
is that?
three is fair for like nostalgia. And like it was written in the 1900 for children who like other children's books at this time way different and like you know what I mean? Like they weren't exposed to as much like actual good media obviously as we are. So it's like a whole situation. But do you want some fun facts about the book?
Yes, let's go.
So Baum was wrote Dorothy, like named Dorothy after his niece who died very young. So that's where the name Dorothy comes from. Sad fun fact, but that's where Dorothy is from. Baum was scared of scarecrows and had frequent nightmares of scarecrows. And so the reason why he created this character, so to be so likable, it was to kind of like counteract his fear, which I was like, that's pretty cool. He loved window displays in stores and he loved people making things out of other things. So he literally made his own Tin Man at one point for some holiday display. Yeah. Like welded it together with a funnel on the head, everything. And so he loved, yeah, and a lot of the other books, there are a lot of like what we would consider now steampunk elements. Like there's a creature called TikTok, spelt the same as the app, who is like a clock cyborg CP C3PO kind of creature. Um, which I thought was fun. Uh, he co-wrote a 1902 musical version of this with more adult jokes. None of it turned into the movie as we know it, so totally different situation. In the 1960s or 70s, there was an English teacher, or not, sorry, there was a history teacher who was like, "Hey, I'm trying to teach these kids about the economics of the 1890s. The Wizard of Oz is an allegory for this because it was about the bit of that history where they're trying to introduce more silver into like the money system and because gold was like hard to get, etc. So his theory was like the yellow brick road is the gold standard and the silver slippers were entering silver. And it's about how the Dorothy is like young America, like um trying to make the world theirs. And the scarecrow represents the farmers. The Tin Man represents the industry workers who be are dehumanized. And the lion, I don't remember what the lion was. And but Emerald City is all the politicians and like and a bunch of people like for like 15, 20 years, that was like everyone's like, oh yeah, this guy, good ideas. And then by the 80s, everyone was like, this is total BS. Like you were just putting stuff on there, which is like what people do all the time when people critique fiction. Like that's cool. But like people were like taking that as that was actually Baum's like authorial intent,
It's a stretch.
right?
And the lightest term of where like use of that word. I don't see all of that, but hey, that might just be because I don't often give credit to men.
There's like a lot of discussion about is this an allegory and all that. And I truly think that Frank L. Baum was like, hey, what if I wrote the America's version of mythos and the great stories that we have, like in different European, like the Grimm brothers, like Hans Christian Andersen, like this will be ours. And so I'm gonna make it entertaining for kids and just like wild and all this. And I think that's what he did. And was he successful? No, based off his books, but yes, in what the
It
movie did.
it provided a great concept
Hmm.
for because it is, I understand some of the changes that they made to make this a movie, but I think they're all like honestly good
Yeah,
choice.
yeah. Do we want to talk about the movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. Do you remember the first time you watched this movie?
Probably since I was born. Like I watched this movie so many times across my life, and like Wizard of Oz is actually very huge as a part of like my family lore. My like parents, one of their first like big memories of each other is that there was a all elementary production of Wizard of Oz. And my mom was the Wicked Witch of the West. And my bio dad was the Tin Man. And so that was a huge thing. And the both of them were in the same graduating class, and their class song was Over the Rainbow because they thought it would be funny.
Hmm.
I don't know, it was 1990. I still don't get why that's funny, but
Yeah.
and I remember they had like this little like plaque they gave everybody who graduated that was like it had music to it. It was the Over the Rainbow. So I would like play it like all the time.
Hmm.
Um, so I probably watched that movie since like at least three or four, if
Yeah.
not just playing it for me like before consciousness.
My dad is still deathly afraid of the Wicked Witch of the West, so much so he would not allow us to watch this movie. And then as I talked about before, my mom just has like no care about anything fantasy related. So she didn't like discourage us from getting fantasy stuff, but she was like at the library, she's like, what if you got this thing that is not about magic? Like just like gonna like pointed us to other stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch this until probably like third or fourth grade. Like I saw like bits, when I was like walking through Walmart and it's on the TVs, at friends' houses, but I never saw the full movie, I think, until like I was in fourth or fifth grade because during a summer like theater camp program that our local theater did that I was in um one summer. I think it was the summer after fifth grade. Where the play was The Wizard of Oz, right? And so I watched it like two or three times before doing it was called art school, before art school, so I could get, into it. And I loved it immediately. And so I was in it and I auditioned for the person, the gate person in charge of the Emerald City. And I
Yeah.
did and I did not get it. And I cried when I got home from not getting. I was heartbroken. But and because I was too tall, I couldn't be a munchkin.
Oh,
I know. So I was essentially in every other scene that could have extras that wasn't munchkins. But during the tornado, we had to like come up with ideas of things that could get caught in the tornado. And so me and this girl who I just met and never had met before, we didn't go to school together. Were like, I was like, what if I had like a little like house or garage and you had a cow and your cow got stuck on my garage within the tornado? And so we had this plan and we went throughout it. And that person ended up being Chandler, one of my lifelong besties. That's
yeah.
how we officially met, was in fifth grade. And then we didn't see each other till high school.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was just like wild, wild times. But so that's like my Wizard of Oz, like, you know,
Your lore.
yeah, but because I was that summer, we like, you've been in a play or two. You understand that once you do a play, those songs are
Actually,
just
I was in
like,
childhood ones that I was forced to
yeah,
do. Yeah.
like once you do a play, those songs are like forever like stuck in your head. So I like rewatching this, I was like, I know every single word to every like, but also these songs are iconic,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, but this movie, honestly, rewatching it, I was like, maybe this is one of America's best movies.
I'm still with it, honestly. Like, how much money and like how long it took them to make this and how much care and consideration because they started trying to do this in 1937 and they went through like a ton of rewrites. And thank God it did because through the rewrites,
Hmm.
a lot of like new ideas that were bad ideas. So they like had all these ideas and then they kind of like tamped it down. And so we got this like beloved product that we have now. And um I think it's just like so cool that they were able to, because of that happening as well, because of how long it took, they were able to do the Technicolor. Okay, so the Technicolor fun fact here is that while it is definitely purposeful that they have distinguishing coloring between the Wizard of Oz, the real reason it is not color at the start of the movie was because they did not have it in enough of the time, and instead it went to Gone with the Wind. So it was like one of them started before the other. And then that is how they each got it was like, oh, we're only gonna have Technicolor for this, and then the rest of it will go to this production. So I thought that was like such a cool thing. And this is where the slippers come in.
Hmm. I like the juxtaposition between the black and white slash sepia to opening the door to Munchkin Land is like it's the feeling I get when I watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when they step in. It is that same exact feeling. Like I think about it and I have chills right now and like if I think about it too much, I will cry. But honestly, that's for other reasons. Just because I'm amped to cry this week for some odd reason. Anyways, um, but like I I love movies made in like the like early 40s through the 60s. I love the Technicolor look.
Yeah.
I love it. Like we like, a couple months ago watched Dracula and the one that was made in the 60s, we watched it and it's like Technicolor and which is like not very Dracula vibes, but I was just like, I love it. I love it when you something looks Technicolor tacky. I love it.
And like none of it would have made sense as a movie without it. So
Yeah.
that's why it's like so cool that it did end up working out, that it took them so long
Hmm.
for this. because then they were able to do it this way, and there's no way that this would have been the same movie without that experience.
Absolutely not.
Glad they did it, even though it was so expensive at the time.
So expensive. It was such a feat to create. And like there are books and documentaries that have talked about this. So we are definitely not going to hit all of the
All of
amazing
it.
information because we are just two people on a Thursday night
Yes.
trying to get through a post-election week.
Yeah, this was actually the movie is a nice treat post-election.
Oh, highly recommend.
That's yes. If you are still in your feels, which makes sense, you're valid for that. Watch this. It's on
Hmm.
so many platforms.
Hmm.
It's just under 2 hours and completely worth it, especially if you've been
Yes.
for a really long time.
Yes. Um, can we talk about Dorothy
Yeah.
and how amazing just like this movie I do have a few parts that I like still I didn't like as a kid and I still don't like,
Okay.
but every but we'll get to those
Put it
parts.
there.
Yeah, but like it's every time Judy Garland has a chance to sing, I'm enthralled.
You know, when the somewhere the raven every time I'm
Ah,
like,
every time.
every
And
time.
I cry every time.
Yes. And it just reminds me of being that kid who was like not, I loved it, but I was not internalizing there's no place like home. I was like, no, I need to get the heck out of rural Nebraska.
Hmm.
And that was like literally why it was like my favorite movie. It was like, gotta get out of here. So when she sings, it's just what a voice.
It's so good. I She does an amazing job acting here. She's 16. Wild, especially with all the like drama and just like bullshit and like just the shitty stuff that the film industry had done to her before this movie even
Yes.
started, throughout this movie. Like Judy Garland, just amazing.
You did not
Um,
deserve, my girl. You really didn't.
hmm hmm Also, I love, oh shoot, what's her name? My brain is blacking out. Margaret Hamilton, who plays the Wicked Witch of the West.
Oh yeah.
Her as Miss Gulch, terrifying.
So good. And she didn't like even want to like really be like that. And it's like
Uh-huh.
so weird to think about how like watching this now, knowing like I'm gonna be going to Wicked, right? And how pretty much this movie is the version of who the Wicked Witch is in Wicked, right? It's not from the
Hmm.
books. This
Hmm.
movie, this particular person, Queen, just like absolute so good. Wicked
Yeah.
Witch, Jasmine Gulch, like every little bit of it is perfect. You definitely are like scared of her. And then
Yes.
like, take your dog.
Yeah. And kill it and put it down. Like it's not just like
Yes.
take your dog. When I was a kid, I missed that part. I was just like, oh, she's just gonna steal the dog. I like totally
Right.
blanked out the killing of
Right.
the dog.
Because I irrationally, if I had realized that, I probably, even though I was young, I probably would have been like, is that really your job? Like, do you get to just
Hmm.
dogs?
Hmm.
And even now, like they can't just do that. You're not.
Hmm.
She was like, I'm animal control now.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, Gulch is the head of the HOA.
Yes. Original
She is
Karen.
sending you a nasty email at this moment.
Kansas Karen, that's for sure.
Absolutely. The original Kansas Karen. Margaret Hamilton, phenomenal job. And I have this little book called Brazen Rebel Ladies Who Rock the World. It's a graphic novel, like little mini bios, and she's in it. And
Oh,
it tells
that's
them
so
about,
cool.
and it's like very interesting and like has people from like all over the world and different like folks from like the BC era all the way or BC all the way through like modern times. So if you like graphic novels or you have a child or like teenager, it's really good. I'll put that in the link in this pod description,
Good idea.
but she's in it and talks about her story. She was a single mom and she was like, "Hey, I want to work 3 weeks." And they're like, "Hey, what about 3 months?" And she's like, "Well, I guess this is it, I guess." When Dorothy goes into Munchkin Land, we've talked about Technicolor, but that set and that point in the movie is the most expensive set and movie and sequence of scenes ever to exist in cinema at that point.
Yes.
which you can tell the set. I love set designs. I I love set designs, which is like why, like, last year with Barbie, I was just like, set designs, like, give me a set, create a fake town, which I'm so glad with all this behind the, we'll talk about Wicked at the very end, but like seeing all the behind the scenes of the new Wicked movie, seeing the set designs, I was like, thank God.
Oh, I don't care if the acting is good or not. I'm there for the sets. I'm there for the music. Like
Yes. Hmm.
I know
Absolutely.
what I'm getting when I'm going into it. Like these are the things I want.
Yes. Yes. Um, but Munchkin Land is just like colors everywhere, huge flowers, right? In this version of Munchkin Land, most of the residents are little people, but they couldn't find the amount of little people actors that they wanted. So there's a lot of children also in this scene. Most of the actors they used in Munchkin Land were from a European acting troupe, and so they didn't speak English. And so one of the Munchkins, the actor's name, Mickey Carroll, dubbed most of the little people actors like lines because they barely spoke English. And he also dubbed Auntie M's line when she's yelling in the wind in the beginning. Um,
The Dorothy?
Auntie M, yeah, when she goes, Dorothy, yeah,
Dorothy!
yeah, yeah. The same guy who dubbed all the Munchkins.
Wild.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about the Twister and like the special the physical effects they did there. Do you know how they made the Twister?
I think so, but you go for it.
It's chicken wire with like pantyhose over it, and then they made like a viewpoint like set piece box. So like it's
Do that
tiny.
part. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, not the
Which
other.
yeah, I love that. And I love the like overlay of the pre-recorded witch on the bike to broom scene. That
Oh.
uh just
Oh
so good. Love it. Who's your favorite munchkin in this scene? Because I have opinions.
my God, I've never thought about that before, if I'm being
Or like
honest.
song bit, maybe.
Oh, oh, like when they're doing their like
Yeah. When they're
impression.
doing the Nutcracker bit where they're like, here, presenting you with stuff.
Yes. I mean, anything with the dancing. I can't. The only one I'm thinking of is the Lollipop Guild for some reason, and it's not really that.
That's my answer. I love the
Really?
Lollipop
Okay.
Guild. I love the dancing where it's like, and they're kicking it, but they're really stiff
Yeah.
about it. I really like it. I love the Lollipop Guild. The house has landed on the shoes, right? We see the like really like poorly cut together. See, like now watching it, it's like, oh, this is not smooth, but then you have to remember that they're actually physically cutting film.
Yes.
Um, so it's like give them a little grace, right? It's 1939.
Yes. They're
Crazy.
making a feat. They are allowed to have a
Yes.
few things of their time.
Yes. But the slippers here are the ruby, right? And they're gorgeous.
Yes, they're beautiful. Seeing them in person, for people who didn't listen to my episode, I live in the DC area. So seeing them in the Smithsonian, amazing. And
Hmm.
I have I was gifted red pin, the slipper pins.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I just think they're so beautiful. I'm so glad that a decision was made. I mean, it makes so much sense to have a more contrasting color
Hmm.
on. So that's why they picked it, was so that it was more contrasting. And I just beautiful, cute. Just what a great idea to go with
Hmm.
Ruby instead.
And then we have our first like major change, and that is that the Wicked Witch, or sorry, the Good Witch just the Good Witch in general. There's
Yes.
not a North or a South. There's just one. It is Glinda. The bubble, the pink dress. I wanted to be her.
I was just thinking about before we started this, I was like, how was I never once a character from this movie? I was obsessed with it. Like, I'm so weirded out that I wasn't even like Dorothy once.
Yeah.
Wow. I would have thought.
I've never been any of the characters either, but I'm not from, a Midwest state or have like that deep a connection minus like the musical bit.
Yeah.
Weird. And then we have the puff of red smoke, and comes in the Wicked Witch of the West, and she is creepy, and I'm terrified, and I love her. Such a good villain.
Yes, perfect villain. Does a great
Yeah.
job. The laugh,
hmm
your little rock too. Uh,
hmm
it's just everything is so witchy. Just like
hmm
the pointing
Her
that
nails.
yes, they
hmm
do such a good job. She
hmm
just absolutely took over that character and made it
Yes.
her. That's who she is now.
hmm And she is one of the folks that had to deal with a lot of makeup issues. Like that makeup stayed on her for like weeks and months. It was like copper and like turning her screen green. Like it definitely affected her health later. But also at the end of the scene where she's like yelling at Dorothy, um, there's like supposed to be a big like bunch of fire, and then she goes through a trap door. The fire started before it was supposed to, and she got second and third degree burns on her hand and her shoulder, which
Yeah.
then again slowed down production yet again,
Well,
which
have been better
they were
about.
smart enough not to recast her.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like you would have been in a world of trouble.
hmm Yeah, and they use the first cut of that scene. Like they didn't when they did it later when she was healed from the burn, they just used the first one.
Mm.
So like one take, not one, first cut, one first take. Um,
I mean,
Also, I
watch.
forgot to say the
Oh, sorry.
Munchkins hatch out of eggs at one point. There's little children coming out of eggs at one point during their singing in like the tour of Munchkin Land.
It's weird.
It's really creepy. And like,
A choice.
yeah, like I understand it. Like Munchkin Land is just like every color, everything. Like it is just so saturated in every way. But why eggs?
Oh, probably because when she was in the tornado, the chicken coop happened. And
Oh,
so I would assume that has to do with that because
okay.
also is I'm counting in the chicken coop. So probably that.
Okay.
Since everything is a physical manifestation almost.
Yeah.
I bet that's
Yeah.
it. Weird.
But they sing the next song is the like, Yellow Brick Road song, which we hear a billion times, which honestly is one of my like downfalls of this as a musical. It's like there's no like different version of the Yellow Brick Road. It's the same four lines over and
Yeah.
over. Yeah, but also it's 1939. So Dorothy's going down. She has her basket, her red slippers, her Toto, and then we get to the Scarecrow scene. And the Scarecrow song is my favorite of the like companions.
I like the tin. I like the Tin Man one, but it's better.
I
You don't?
I no, the Tin Man, like he's like fine. Like I have a ranking,
Theirs are
which
better.
we can get to once we get through all of them. But like
Yeah, I think
I
that they're better than the Lion one.
uh-huh. Yeah. But the Scarecrow, I love his dancing. I love If I Only Had a Brain. I think it fits like the lyrics fit the tune better than the other companions' songs. Bolger, the guy who plays the Scarecrow, originally was casted as the Tin Man. And this is like a very common knowledge for film buffs
Oh,
or anyone who loves these movies, right? So the original Tin Man was Buddy Ebsen, and they used aluminum dust for his makeup, which then got in his lung and he almost died. And
yes.
so he was in the hospital. So they recasted and they recasted to Jack Haley to take over for the Tin Man. And so Bolger was able to become Scarecrow, which is what he wanted because he thought his dancing fit the Scarecrow more. And I also love his dancing. Like the
Yeah,
physical acting, so good.
it's perfect.
Yes, I love it. Um, so yeah, so she meets the Scarecrow, he comes along, they meet the Tin Man. He there's at one point they like knock on the chest and there's an echo in the chest, which like how, but also like fun, but also how? And he sings If I Only Had a Heart. We get the bit of the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. That part, so fun. And I feel like there's so much of this movie that is just so ingrained into our society that even if folks or even kids who have not seen this know like bits of this. But I love the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. But then they meet the lion. And I love his why I oughta accent. That gets me every time. Like, I will say the actor who plays the lion, I think he does an excellent job, but he is my least favorite of the companions.
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Love the hair though.
Oh yeah. That did you know that suit weighed over 50 pounds and had included two different lion pelts?
I knew that it was heavy, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, actual lion pelts. And he had to stay in his costume and prosthetics throughout the whole day. And so it was two different employees' jobs through the night to air dry out the thing. And it would get dry clean occasionally whenever they had more than one day off. But it apparently was like reeking,
Heavy.
obviously. Yeah. Isn't that bonkers?
Yes.
Yeah, the lion, not my fave. But they keep on going, and then we get to the field of poppies.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And like that, like obviously the background is a set, like a painted set, but
Mhm.
like the rest of it, I'm just like, it's a set.
Oh, it's so lush. Like just watching it, you're just like, oh, it's
Like
beautiful.
I do want to fall asleep in that poppy
Right.
field.
Right. I'd have a great nap there.
Yeah, there's no ticks in that poppy field. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then it starts to like the snowing on them is literal asbestos. They used literal asbestos, and asbestos was they like the discovery of asbestos causing cancer was back in the 20s, and it was well known. They used asbestos to on the scarecrow and the witch costumes for wherever that was going to be fi to fireproof it, and it was on the whole time because they had to keep reapplying it for safety reasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the snow coming down on them is literal asbestos, and then the scarecrow and the witch are walking around with costumes with asbestos. Yeah,
They were trying to kill everybody on this. It
yeah,
was so bad.
all for that money. Mm, yeah, but I love the field of poppies. It's gorgeous. I love it. Um, and then we get the Hold On to Your Hope song as they finally get to the Emerald City. It's like just like a chorus. And I had never caught that one watching it until this rewatch. I was like, this is a weird, like very 40s, like chorusy song. And I was like, interesting. I've never caught that before. We get to the Emerald City. We have the wacky doorman ripped to me, getting that part when I was in fifth grade, heartbroken still.
Living great.
I even like tried to do an accent. I was really into it.
I could
And
have
I
been.
didn't do art school the next summer, and I chose to do basketball camp because of that.
Well, you were like good at basketball.
I was, but I
So like
wanted to be a well-rounded, triple threat, theater, band, basketball.
you always can do that as an adulthood. You're gonna hit your
I mean, I was in Mamma Mia when I was back in Ketchikan, so I did
you
live
really
my theater.
you got
I
it.
got to dance on the table for the bachelorette party scene. It
I've never
was
seen
good.
I know.
Damn it. You've never seen Mamma Mia?
Never seen Mamma Mia.
Not seeing
It makes me
Ratatouille till
feel
2 years ago, forgivable.
it
This
makes
is
me feel like a
unforgivable.
bad gay, you know? Like I should have probably
Your
seen
words.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's like one of those things I'm like, I really should get it done because like it's got Meryl, and if Meryl is in it, you know what I mean? I should be watching it. It's like
Do you, but like you,
I'm not a
movies.
huge musical person. I don't know if you know that about me.
I mean, but yeah, but like, Mamma Mia is a jukebox musical, so it's barely a musical.
I guess, but I don't have like any like, well, this might make a little sense because you know
If you
this.
don't like ABBA.
Well, my parents, I didn't grow up with it. Like my
Yeah,
parents, I mean, I mentioned this at the top of the episode, right? Like my parents graduated high school in 1990. So
yeah.
like, and they had me in 93. So like I grew up with 90s music. Like my parents were always listening to at the times.
Hmm.
The like Fleetwood Mac was like my only like pre of that time frame pretty
Hmm.
much. So I didn't really like grow up with ABBA at all.
You need to come visit me, and then we can get drunk and watch Mamma Mia.
I need to plan it. We got to go. I want
Yes,
to go down so badly.
yes. Anyways, they have made it to the Emerald City. And they're getting the tour. We have the Horse of Many Colors, which was actually three horses. and they were sprayed with veggie oil and gelatin powder and food dye, which honestly, not the worst way to dye horses. Like
No,
that's all
it
edible.
wasn't. Like apparently it was like honestly not that bad for the horses because it like fell off really quickly.
Yeah. But also a little weird if they're using gelatin powder on horses.
Yeah, they were like when I learned about it, they're like, yeah, they basically used like Jello powder on horses.
Yeah.
And
And
I was
that's
like,
like,
well, think of it in my context too, as like a small rural town person who is used to Jello salads as like the norm around me.
hmm hmm
Like I was like the thing in the weird floppy desserts. You know what I mean? Like that stuff. Even though I did have like regular Jello, like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
so yeah, for me, I was like,
Yeah. Anyways, they're in the Emerald City.
the horses.
Um, I also love this song because this is a song that I was singing. I was part of the Brush 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 group, and I had to brush Dorothy's hair, and I was like, I love that one. It's a jolly good town. Yeah. But yeah, then the witch writes Surrender Dorothy in the sky. That was originally going to be Surrender Dorothy or die in the sky, but they got rid of the or die to not shock audiences, which I'm like, okay. And then my least favorite song, While They Wait for the Wizard. If I were king of the forest,
Yes.
this song needs to be cut.
A perfect movie. It would be like I would still say this is a 5-star movie, but it would be a 6 out of 5.
I hate the weird vibrato he does.
Like
Like, honestly, if he didn't do that, I would be less mad about the song.
true.
And they cut so much. This movie was supposed to be 2 hours. Like they cut a foxtrot song when they were battling the monkeys in the forest that they like had like
Yeah, instead.
right. I want a group number. I don't want any more solos. They each got their solo.
Right? Why does he get two?
hmm Yeah, why?
Explain that.
I don't know. I don't know. Um, we get to Oz and we have the fun pyrotechnics. No one got hurt, but that set piece almost got burnt to the ground multiple times during filming this. Which they used asbestos as fire retardant for this as
Oh, even
well.
more.
Yeah,
Disgusting.
fun.
Well,
Yeah. And so they're like, "Hey, you'll get your gifts if you bring back the broomstick." And the lion's like, "But why?" And then he gets scared and jumps out of a window, which is like that is braver than running down the hallway.
yeah.
Stupider, but braver. I don't know. I just don't get the lion.
They put in a lot of effort into that lion.
hmm They almost had literally a real lion, the one that's in the like the Warner
Oh, the
Brothers.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Leo
MGM.
the lion. Yeah, he was going to be the actual lion, and they were gonna like dub over his roars. That was the first idea,
An even worse idea.
right? And then they got a new director, and the new director's like, "No, we're getting a human."
Yeah.
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 They start heading towards trying to get the witch. The flying monkeys come and kidnap Dorothy and Toto. And she ends up trading Toto for the shoes, but the shoes like zap the witch so that she can't trade them. Toto escapes because again, Toto be running away.
Rascal.
And there's a sand timer on her life, but we don't get explain what the sand timer does.
It's not even something in the book. So, like,
No.
it's just because it looks cool, I guess.
Or like maybe they cut out a scene that explained it.
This makes me wish that because I'm pretty sure I have my like had it since high school like binder of DVDs. And I had a like a 50th like special like or whatever.
hmm
And I don't know if it's still there. I also don't have anything that could play DVDs, but I remember that there was like a ton of commentary in that.
hmm
Now I'm like, oh dang, would love to watch that.
Honestly, I think Saffron, my cat, is like the cowardly lion. He makes really dumb choices, but he's scared of everything. But he just wants to be cuddled
I mean, they're both very lovable, I'm sure.
and very furry.
Yes. Oh, true.
hmm Anyways, so the shoes won't let the witch take them, and the scarecrow creates a plan, the classic like silly guys. We need to get inside, steal the uniform of the Winkies. That's fun.
So
That's good.
funny. Like I think that's such a great physical like humor of like you see like the lion's tail and you like
Hmm.
see like a scarecrow like you see these like pieces as they're fighting, you know? Like I was watching that and I was like that's actually like a really great physical comedy like
Yeah.
bit.
I it's a good bit. Like I've, obviously they do it in this, they do it like in Star Wars, but every time I see this bit, I
Love it.
crackle. I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly. Classic.
Yes. Yes. Also classic men thinking, I'll just put on this uniform. Like
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Like all the time in Star Wars,
yeah.
we're gonna dress like clones.
Hmm.
Sure.
They rescue her, but then the witch traps them. But then the scarecrow creates a distraction, and we have a chase scene around the castle, which is fun. I like seeing the castle, and apparently a lot of the stuff that was cut was like scenes in that castle because it's a huge set. They just
Right.
barely used any of it in the final edit. Um, and then they get to like the kitchen area, and Dorothy throws water on the witch, and then she melts.
Yep.
And the I'm melting scene scared me when I was little because like is so like random. Like there's no like foreshadowing that she's scared of water in this
It,
version. In the book there is,
Mhm.
but not here.
I would beg my mom to like do the eye melting, like do it for me, mom. Like, you know, like you were the Wicked Witch. Like, and she would never do it. She was just like try to act like she was too grown for that, I guess. I would like just ask her like a few times, like a year. I feel like when I'm between that ripe ages of like kindergarten to like third grade. Just of like, come on, like it's just the two of us. Like
Yeah.
those moments, like we'd be driving the car, and I'm like, the acoustics, you know, that version of like, it'll sound great in the car, you know.
Who sticks of the car?
I didn't know what acoustics were, but I had the concept of it because I was like, we're in the car, no one's here. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
okay, you know, like you sing, you can be high pitched here, you know, me just trying to like get my mom to do it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. That's funny.
I wanted to hear if she was scary.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe
it's
she
a
was.
creepy bit.
You should have just told me she was too scary. I think that may have helped. That would have
Yeah.
worked. I was a straight up fraidy cat. I've always been a chicken since like I want to say second grade when
Maybe
yes.
that's why I don't like the lion, is because I'm like, I am.
You
I talk a big game. I am a Leo. I will say I'll do anything, and I will never do anything. You know?
yeah.
Maybe
I
that's why I don't like the lion.
Yeah, it was like we were hanging out at the house of somebody who was like my school age and she had like a bunch of sons. So like my parents and them were hanging out and she tried to have us watch Signs. And she was like looking at me in the eyes, being like, as you just tell yourself that it's not that scary, it won't be. I tapped out like 5 minutes in. I was like, no way. Like I can't divorce the reality.
I can't watch scary movies. We've talked
Oh,
about this, but I will be going to see Nosferatu because
oh,
I love Skarsgård and
okay.
I love Nosferatu, the old one. So I will be going to see it and I will be shitting my pants.
I I have watched a few more scary movies in like sort of recent
Mhm.
memory. Like I saw Megan in theaters. There's a few other scary ones that I like actually watched. I was actually pretty surprised I handled myself during Exorcist.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my most like it's my sweatshirt that I can hide under the most and but I want to see it and I want to see Skarsgård. Like I'm
Anytime,
gonna be
even
very
if it's a
brave.
movie trailer, like I went to go see Anora this weekend, and because of the time Anora came out, most of the trailers are scary movies because post
Yeah.
Oscars, it's scary movie time because nobody's
Hmm.
putting out like a ton of movies. I will cover my eyes in the theaters because
Same.
I will hear jump scare music, and I'm like, I can't. Like,
Same.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm not a I'm not a Leo, but I'm definitely a scaredy cat.
I talk a big game, but I'm scared of
I
everything.
can. I really can.
Anyways, they killed the witch. They go back to Oz. I like this ending more where the wizard's like, hey, here's a diploma, Scarecrow, which the math equation he spits off is incorrect because he messed up his line.
And
So,
they
fun
didn't
fact.
change it.
No, they're like, you got it. It sounded good.
I mean, I think it adds to the character that the wizard was actually secretly kind of like a dumbass. So
Yeah,
I think it was,
absolutely.
I think it tracks actually better.
Yeah. We get the medal for the lion. What does the Tin Man get?
He gets the heart.
Yeah. And it's sweet. Like I
Oh,
like
his lines about it. You would not believe how many I'm sure it was two, three times I posted that. Now I know I have a heart because it's breaking on Facebook, like during
oh
high school.
yes.
Absolute.
Yes. Absolutely. When they're going on the balloon and Dorothy's like saying goodbye and she says to Scarecrow, you like the line like I'll miss you, more than all. That one also gets me all the time.
So sweet.
Yes. And then nothing or Dorothy fails to get on the balloon because of Toto again running off. Dogs be doing dog stuff.
That trying the main character.
And then Glinda comes to the rescue and was like, "You had the solution all along," which like I understand why they combined the two good witches. We don't need to go off on another adventure like they do in the book,
Yeah.
right? But the fact that she knew at the beginning, you know,
You had to go through the journey to really experience and learn your lesson. It's like, you probably could have left out that detail. Like you could have done it all along. I think it
yeah.
would have been better in the like honestly, but
Or like pull like a
yeah,
Gandalf and be like, I read this in a book. I gained knowledge off screen.
yes.
But then we get the iconic heel clicks, there's no place like home. And then she makes it back to Kansas. Just iconic. Also, we didn't really touch on that the actors who play like the companions and the wizard are the same characters in her Kansas life, which is fun to see. That's a fun bit
Yeah.
because that's not really like a bit in the book, but I think that really adds. Because I think it's one of those things like the first time I watched this as a kid, you don't really notice it. And then the second time you watch it, you're like, wait a second. That guy is the same guy as the Tin Man.
Yeah. Yes. And then you don't put it together until then. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, these were all physical manifestation of people.
hmm I like this movie is so good. And it is it is the pinnacle of America's cinema. And I love movies, but I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a film buff with a capital F and B. But
Yeah.
yeah. But compared to most of my friends, I like movies more than them. And I've seen more movies than them. Not as much as you, but like this movie, it's just like when I rewatch it, I'm like, yes, this is why Hollywood became Hollywood. Like this is so good.
It is. And like for me, like I am truly a sucker for older movies that are really good. Like I lost my mind watching the silent film of Joan of Arc.
I've not seen it.
You have to let me know what you think of it because you're like, how are you going to express so much emotion just through acting when you don't have like it's not talking?
hmm
It's a silent film.
hmm
Just incredible. And like watching this, like, listen, I have watched some of our great American best movies. This movie, I've got to say, I don't like Citizen Kane. This is 10 times better than Citizen Kane.
I fall asleep every time I try to watch Citizen Kane.
I finished it. We did it for the movie club that I was in, and none of us liked it. So I was like, okay, cool, safe space. In that regard. Because I was like ready to walk in and be like, am I missing something?
Yeah,
Like, is this gonna be one of those things where like all the guys are like always so good? Like
it's the film bro movie.
when you talk to, like St. Vives is talking to a bunch of bros about freaking Kerouac, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
hmm Yes, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I like this movie and it has so many meanings in so different many different ways. Like obviously like Judy Garland like iconic, and then like, her daughter Liza Minnelli, like iconic, like they're like so in that like dynasty way, but like the physical feat of creating this movie, all the drama of it, which is like Hollywood at this time was like all drama, which love to read post it happening, not happy it
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
Love to read it, right? And then we have like the friend of Dorothy of it all,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Which,
a weird thing.
mm-hmm. And it's just so like the way this is so significant in so many different aspects of our current modern life is just it's so cool. And it's like, I don't know. It's powerful, but it's also wild that this is a movie for children, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a family movie. It's about a girl who's wandering with random animate objects,
Now.
formerly inanimate objects, right? And it's a basic story about good winning over evil, eh, very basically, right?
Power of home, the power of doing like a journey, the power
The
of finding
power you have within you, like
that.
it's so simple.
It is. And it's just, it's beautiful. I mean, it
Hmm.
is really just a wonderful film. I mean, it they invested so much in it, and I'm so glad that they did. And like it is truly wild to think that like in today's terms, like this movie was $55 million to make.
In 1939.
It's a wow.
Wild.
Wild. And like just thinking about its history where like it did earn a lot, but it wasn't like a cult classic like it was until they started
Hmm.
playing it on Christmas. And
Hmm.
then that really brought it into it constantly being played like its own thing. And um so yeah, this touches so many different things. I mean, totally about Judy and Liza, and like little fun fact is one of the owners of the Ruby Shoes post this was actually Debbie Reynolds had them, who was a part of her own dynasty, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Her her granddaughter now. So it's just so special. Maybe I will still be able to go to be Dorothy or something someday. But also I find it to be very special in like our friendship because like the first thing you ever made me was a Wizard of Oz, like
Hmm.
stitch, and I still have it. It moves with me wherever, and I'm always like, where does it go?
Oh.
Oh my God, love, keep everything that you ever made me. Um,
Oh, that's so sweet.
God, you're so sweet. Thank you for doing that for me. I love them.
Yeah.
And so yeah, love this movie so much about this movie. It was my favorite movie up until right before college started, where then this Tumblr guy got me into Eternal Sunshine, and that overtook.
Which honestly fair.
As one does. Still up there. Definitely my top five. I would say ever. I don't know how it would ever be kicked out. Um, Perfect. I'm so glad we get to
Yeah.
do this. Yeah, Wicked.
But first, is this a good adaptation?
Yes.
Yes.
1000%. It's better. The question if it's better than which one's better, the movie is better.
Absolutely. I think it takes the what Frank L. Baum was trying to create and is successful in it because they edit it down.
Yes, they pared it down. They did not need so many obstacles. They made it make sense where instead of having obstacle, like 10 obstacles, like
Hmm.
instead they curated some characters and then they turned these three folks into their solo moments as a part of the journey. And that made a perfect case for each character's introduction in the rest of the movie. And like
Hmm.
anything more that didn't have something cut out of it would have been out of place in my mind, like
Yeah.
particularly the Lion Song. So
I,
if you take
and I don't
anything out of
apologize.
this, if you take anything out of this podcast, we are not cowardly lion people, really.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, it's perfect. Everybody.
It's so good, and I'm so excited for Wicked. Dude, it is what's keeping me together currently. And I'm currently reading Wicked.
How's that going?
Um, you'll have to listen to the podcast. That's next
Oh, fair.
week. Yeah. I am so excited for Wicked. I think it's gonna be great for what I need right now.
Yes.
Will it be a great movie in years to come? Who's to say? But I am I'm fine with the actors.
I'm like not an Ariana Grande person, but
Me
like
neither. She's a
I
good
am
impressionist.
like I was like I don't have like a huge experience of knowing anything she acted with because she's like from Nickelodeon. But like knowing who was up there, like I know she wanted this, and this has been like one of her things. And like I
Yeah.
think about it, I'm
Like
very
all the behind the scenes, the story, I am hooked. It's
I
like it's how I felt pre-Barbie. It was like it's very similar of like I'm every time it's on my feed, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this behind the scenes. Yeah. Which is how I was like the month before Barbie. I was like, I'm gonna watch this behind the scenes on every
yeah,
single thing. So like
so excited
it's
for
gonna be
so
the same vibes of like me, same vibes as in like how I'm taking the content, not necessarily the content, just how I feel about it.
we're at a time where we need like a bubblegummy, like obviously we know what's headed for it, but like some of it is probably going to be more amped up towards the positivity than like how deep and dark Wicked really is. So I'm excited, like anything to like kind of get me like in the theater, and like
Hmm.
it's gonna be like not maybe not good acting wise, like perfect, but I think it's gonna be like interesting to watch.
Thank you, Sam, for joining me.
Thank you for
So
having
fun.
me. This is
Yes.
one of my favorite movies, and you're one of my favorite people, so it's perfect.
Oh, Shanks. Way happier content than the last time you were here,
True.
but
And I
still
actually
very
think
important.
it is, and this is required watching.
Yes, absolutely required watching. Honestly, I would love to read your list of required watching.
I should make one.
Yeah, you should make one and I will try to do it.
That'll be fun. I can make like a little letterbox list for
That'll
people.
be really fun. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars and 5 stars only. Follow us on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast and subscribe, all that stuff. Share with your friends. Thank you for listening. And remember, read the book first.